All right, Vig. Two poster boys for the steroid era.
Yeah.
Okay. Two guys who we love to talk about. One we saw a lot of as Yankees fans. One we didn't. One we saw in the World Series.
Yeah.
But you got Manny Ramirez, all-time joke. You got Barry Bonds, all-time joke. Of the two, which one is the bigger joke, the bigger embarrassment to themselves in baseball? Who are you going with?
Yeah. Bigger joke as far as not only the game of baseball, but also pop culture.
Sure.
I'll go with bigger joke being Barry Bonds, because Barry Bonds was a completely different type of player, from my perspective, post steroids. So if someone wants to say, well, how do you know Barry Bonds did steroids? I mean, he was never caught. To me, I'm telling you that I know Barry Bonds did steroids because Vig knows he did steroids, just because it's in Vig's head.
Does that have anything to do with Barry Bonds hitting 73 home runs in one season?
So Barry Bonds, yes.
Okay.
So early Barry Bonds was gap hitter, speed, average. Post steroids Barry Bonds was all of those things plus an inordinate jump in power and non-pitchability. You could not pitch to Barry Bonds post steroids, and what that resulted in was Babe Ruth type of walk numbers.
Right.
I mean, you and I probably 7 or 8 years ago were with a group of people, and we started talking Bonds versus Babe Ruth, and I was Babe Ruth, you were Bonds.
Right.
And we started looking up the numbers, and it was very comparable.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, the delta between who the player was and who the player became after pre and post steroids, for me the bigger joke becomes Bonds, because he made the larger jump. He went from a 15 to 25 home run guy to a 60 to 75 home run guy.
You know, I'll buy that. You know, for one, maybe Barry Bonds took steroids. I'm not so sure. You know, he's never been proven. You know, he's never tested positive for steroids, unlike the largest joke in Major League Baseball, Manny Ramirez. A guy who spent just a couple of years in New York City, you know, for was a junior high, and still has the Spanish twang, Spanish accent when he speaks.
Yeah, basically he grew up in New York City. I mean, from 7th grade on, he was in the New York school system. But as a 35-year-old right now, he still has a Spanish accent.
Right, he still speaks like he's 12 years old and in the New York City school system. Yeah. I mean, that's what he is. You know, ridiculous hair, a history of laziness, and here's why he's the biggest joke. Let's be honest. Only guy ever in the major league level to be caught twice for steroids. Now it takes
100 game suspension.
100 game suspension, and there's a couple of components to this. First off, you know, with the detection methods they use, which are, you know, not necessarily, they are state of the art, but they give you some leeway in these testings. There's ways around them. Mm-hmm. Good doctors can get around it. Mm-hmm. So even being caught one time is not only a
equivalent to
shame on you. Right, exactly. It's not only a shame on you for doing it. It's you're stupid enough to get caught. So Manny won up that and got caught a second time. And here's where he becomes the biggest joke of them all. You know, he had signed on earlier this season, 2011, to play for the Rays, give him a little power, work with that young team, and give him, you know, a little more presence in the lineup. When he tests positive, as opposed to sitting out the 100 games or even putting up an excuse, he retires, walks away, I'm done. I'm done with this. He's the biggest joke in baseball and in the steroid world.
I think I give you biggest joke from a sports fan perspective. I think Barry Bonds transcends baseball, and I think he actually is the poster boy of all sports steroids. Again, because of that delta from what he was pre to who he became post. I agree. You know, you and I as sports fans and the people watching at home in the Fitz and Vig blog probably would say all those nuances that Manny Ramirez had on there, 50, getting suspended 50 games, right. Getting suspended 100 games, selling his grill on eBay, right. You know, he's a multi-gajillionaire, makes him more of a joke. His left field play, right. The fact that he'd catch a ball, then high-five someone in the stands. But for someone who, my wife, who doesn't watch any baseball, she knows Barry Bonds, she knows Barry Bonds as steroid poster boy, and why? Because of just that ridiculous delta that he became, and his totally ornery post game interviews.
I guess the one way I'll kind of end it with, it really looks on your perspective.
Yeah.
If it's your perspective, the biggest
good
joke
point.
is the comical guy, the Manny Ramirez, who's just does so many things you can make fun of,
Yeah.
or the guy who's the pure steroid abuser,
Yeah.
who just benefited the most from steroids. And when you look at him, you just, you wonder what his career was, how it became, where it should have been,
Where it could have been.
along those lines.
Yeah, good point.